Yo, we're live on YouTube, just doing a few checks, getting us live up on Instagram.
Let's go.
Let's go. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Insider Betting. It's your boy, Cody, also known as Cody Talks IF, joined with my brother, Adam Fishkin here. We're going to be breaking down UFC New Mexico, Brandon Moreno versus Steve Erceg. I'm excited for this one, bro. We decided we're not really going to go into these prelims. Nothing too exciting going on in the prelims. A few names that stick out, maybe some locks in there, but let's break it down on the first fight of the main card here.
Let's do it, baby. We got some nice graphics put together, so might as well add those to the stage. Look at that. I double, triple checked these. I hope there's no mistakes. Um,
Beauty.
First fight on the main card, though, we got Ronaldo Rodriguez taking on Kevin Borjas. I got to see, I feel like I say this every week, but I got to see Ronaldo Rodriguez live at the Sphere for UFC 306. And he honestly really stole the show during the press conference. He basically took over. The man doesn't speak a lick of English, but it was Mexican Independence Day, so nobody cared. And he lived up to the hype. He got a win against Ade Osborne there. He looked great. There was a couple times where he kind of got rocked a bit, but he's got the dog in him. He'll keep fighting, and that's what he did against Osborne to get the win. He's currently 2-0 in the UFC, coming up against Kevin Borjas, who's 0-2 in the UFC. Both of these fighters are really good on their feet, but Borjas definitely takes the advantage there. He's got 8 knockouts in his 9 wins overall. He's a little bit more of a volume striker. So I really do think that if this fight stays on the feet, Kevin Borjas might get his first UFC win. But I think Ronaldo Rodriguez is smarter than that. I think he's going to mix it up a little bit like he did against Ode Osborne. I think he got 1 takedown during that fight, and he got taken down once as well. But he's a lot better on the ground. He averages about a takedown a fight. He's got decent takedown defense. He's got decent takedown accuracy. And he's definitely got power as well. He's got 7 knockouts in his 17 wins and 5 submissions in there as well. So overall, he's really good. I do think that I got Rodriguez for this fight. I think he's fun. I think he's entertaining. He's 2-0. You got to go with the guy who's on a winning streak versus a guy who's on a losing streak. We've made this mistake a few times. Alex Moreno, just the one that comes to mind. Jalen Turner, another one. But some guys are just losers, man. And I don't think Ronaldo Rodriguez is that. And I think he's going to be coming in for the win. It should be an entertaining fight. But yeah, I got Ronaldo, bro, minus 148.
Ronaldo Rodriguez is entertaining, bro. Like you said, I like Lazy Boy here as well. I think he's a favorite in Mexico for a reason. His opponent, like you said, is 0-2 in the UFC. Is that correct?
Yeah, 0-2, 9-3 overall.
Just coming out of getting knocked out as well. Rodriguez, I wouldn't be scared to put a little sprinkle on KO here for Rodriguez in front of his home crowd. I think he's gonna have a moment here starting off the main card. This is his time. This will get him a little step up into his division here. He's not ranked, obviously, but he's putting on some hell of performances. I believe he's coming off of a knockout or a decision.
It was a decision win against Osborne. And then, surprisingly, it was a submission win in his UFC debut against who was it against? Dennis Bonda.
And Osborne is no joke. His last opponent is no joke. And this is a step down in competition from his last opponent. So I think they're setting him up here to start the show with sparks flying and get a relatively quick knockout. I would say a good bet is under 2.5 and maybe a knockout on Ronaldo Rodriguez would be my pick. I like him. He has the N-word pass. You said he speaks no English. He does get the N-word pass. I've seen some interviews of him saying it, which is hilarious. But he's Mexican. So it's all good.
Mexican. He gets the pass.
I would not feel confident putting my money on Kevin here. 0-2 in the UFC. Just a disgusting pick if you're putting any money on him.
Yeah, I actually like the sneaky submission win. I think he's got it in his bag, and I think that Kevin Borjas, I don't know, these Latin guys are kind of tough to put out, I find, Oh, look at that, my shit's moving.
There you go.
Yeah, these Latin guys are just tough to put out, like genuinely. So I got the submission, I think, honestly. But
I like that. I like that.
yeah,
I like by finish or under 2.5. I think those are both two good picks for this one.
yeah, yeah. And I think it's important you mentioned this fight's in Mexico. I don't know when the last time the UFC went to Mexico is. I feel like it wasn't that long ago. I feel like it was like 2 years ago or something like that. Um, but I could be wrong. But yeah, Kevin Boyes, I think, is from Peru. So definitely no home crowd advantage there. Going on to the next fight, we got David Martinez making his UFC debut, going on against Simon Oliveira, another winner versus loser here. David Martinez, he's 11-1. I don't know when his last loss was. Where Simon Oliveira is 0-2 in the UFC. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. He lost to Tony Gravely and Daniel Marcos. Honestly, I don't know either of these fighters too well, but my pick is fully based around how bad Oliveira has been. He's lost his only two fights in the UFC. His BJJ is top tier. He is Brazilian, so we got to keep that in mind. And he's definitely got some power with 5 KOs there. But the problem is he can't take you down. Like he averages a takedown per fight, give or take, but his takedown accuracy is 25%. So he's just shooting the takedowns over and over and over again, and barely lands them. So I don't know, David Martinez, lazy boy by racial slur.
Yeah.
That's
Hey,
crazy.
he's allowed to say it. He's allowed to say it.
He's allowed to say it.
allowed
He's
to
got the pass.
I mean, I can't be saying who gets the pass or who doesn't get the pass, but he says he gets it. So
That's not up to me to decide either. But yeah, I think this fight stays on his feet. I think Martinez is better on his feet. I expect him to win by knockout, but even if he doesn't, his volume is just so much higher than Oliveira's that he'll win by decision, I think. So
yeah,
that's my pick. -410. Feel pretty good about it.
yeah, he's a big favorite for a reason. This Oliveira guy, I don't know him. He had a decision loss, I believe, against Daniel Marcos, who isn't the most exciting fighter in my opinion. So David Martinez, some cool thing about him, he fought on Combat Global. He actually had 3 wins in one night to win the title, and 2 of them were within like an hour of each other. So he had like 2 Mexican fighters that he beat and a UFC fighter, that like 2 Mexican fighters that he knocked out, and then a former UFC fighter that he won in a unanimous decision, all within the same night. So fighting 3 times in one night is really difficult, Martinez said. I fought against 2 Mexicans and an ex-UFC fighter to become global combat champion. So he became the champion. It was like a Combat Global tournament thing where he became the champion within one night, and then he didn't lose since. So I think he had a defense in there as well. So I mean, this guy's
crazy.
a unit. If he could beat up 3 guys in one night, I'm pretty sure he's going to be able to lay out this Oliveira guy. So
Yeah,
I'd be confident taking him by finish here.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you just look at the guys and you're like, yeah, that guy's gonna win.
Yeah, this is one of them.
David gives those vibes, whereas Oliveira gives off the vibes that he loses a lot.
Yeah, he gives one guy looks like he's going to win, the other guy looks like he's just meant to lose. So take the guy that looks like he's going to win.
We go straight by looks here. All vibes, all vibes. No analysis.
I mean, I say he's going to knock him out. I think we're going to start this card off hot. UFC London, no knockouts last week. I think that they're going to pay off here with 2 knockouts to start off the main card.
When you got a card in Mexico, it's got to have some knockouts in it.
They're going to be standing and banging. Both these 2 fights starting off the main card aren't going to go to the ground, in my opinion. So take the finish, take the knockout on the favorite fighter.
Yeah. Next up, we got Raul Rosas Jr. versus Vince Morales. Funny enough, this is Vince Morales' second stint in the UFC, and he's been 0-2 since coming back. This definitely feels like a must-win fight for him to stay in the UFC, and definitely no easy opponent there going up against Raul Rosas Jr. In his first stint in the UFC, he went 3-4, and then he left for 5 fights, won all 5. He went 5-0 between his 2 UFC stints. I think it was all in 5 different promotions as well, which is kind of nuts. But yeah, he's been a loser since he got back. Pretty straight and simple there. We've seen Raul lose before, and it was against Christian Rodriguez, who's fighting on this card as well in the prelims, which just shows you the star power that Raul Rosas has. A guy he's lost to is like literally like 6 fights before him. But what we saw there is we just saw Raul gas, really. Like that's really all it was, because Raul looked great in the first round, and then he gassed and lost the next 2. But since then, we've seen him improve. And not only that, we've seen him be willing to do anything it takes to win, which I think is super important as well. We don't love this as fans, and definitely not as a casual fan like me, but he is willing to just take you down over and over and over again and just keep you on the ground if he needs to. And I think that if he needs to, he's going to do the same thing here against Vince Morales. I think he'll probably want to do that just because Vince Morales does have some knockout power, although his strike accuracy isn't the best. He's not a volume striker, but he does have 7 knockouts in his 16 wins, so it's not too bad there. Raul Rosas Jr. is my lock of the night, boys. Like I got everything on him. Value wise, there's nothing there, minus 485, but he's the real deal, man. He's 20, starting the UFC when he was 17, and I'd be shocked to see him lose against a guy like Vince Morales.
Facts. Shout out Dagestan on the Instagram chat. We see you, bro. Shout out Dagestan. I hope you're wrestling and taking it serious out there. But yeah, I agree, bro.
Cody Talks is going to Dagestan 2-3 years.
Yeah, I'll be. You'll see me in Dagestan.
We're doing Dagestan vlogs next.
Yeah. Imagine that Dagestan vlog, crazy. But yeah, Raul Rosas Jr. is the truth, man. He's the biggest prospect in the UFC right now. I say he's bigger than Bo Nickel. He's bigger than these guys. He's more entertaining than these guys. He brings a lot to the sport, and they want to see him win this fight. If he loses this fight, it's going to be devastating for his journey within the UFC. If he takes a loss against Vince Morales, dude, is not a lock at all. Vince Morales, he had his moments against Elijah Smith. So, I mean, if you wanted to take him against as a dog here, I wouldn't recommend it. But he did look decent against Elijah Smith on the ground, standing. He had his moments. It was a close fight. Elijah Smith, in his debut, was able to clinch out the decision win there. But it's just the wrong opponent for him. Raul Rosas Jr. is going to, like you said, wrestle fuck him to a decision win here, or he could get the submission. I like that as well for Raul Rosas Jr. He has a submission win, I believe, already in the UFC. So I like that. I think his last win was a submission. Let me check that. Yep, submission in round 2 against Ricky Tercios. So maybe he gets the submission here again. I like it. I like Raul Rosas Jr. I like that he's your lock of the night. Feel good about betting on him. But if you did want to do a little light unit on Vince Morales, I wouldn't hate you for it. He has been fraud checked in the past. He did look good his last fight, but it's not a tricky one. Go with the prospect here.
Yeah, I agree. My actual lock of the night is going to be later on in the episode, actually, but I think that Raul Rosas is a lock.
I think there is some ability to have a fraud check here or a heat check. You know what I mean? Vince Morales kind of did it to Elijah Smith. And after you have an exciting fight like that, he's going to have another one here. I don't think he's just going to get swept in the first round or anything like that. So we'll see how both of these guys look. I'm excited to watch this one, but I have my money on Raul Rosas Jr.
Nice. Feature fight of the night, we got Kelvin Gastelum versus Joe Pyfer. I guess I'll start with this. I know Kelvin Gastelum's been in the UFC for a very long time, and I know a lot of people like him. And I know he's a good wrestler. I know he's a good fighter overall, and I know he doesn't get knocked out. But Buddy needs a reality check.
Yep.
He was talking to MMA Mania. I was reading earlier that he was hoping to get a bigger name matchup than Joe Pyfer. And this guy, his last fight, he missed weight. He was supposed to fight at 170, and then they ended up fighting on 185. I think it went to decision as well. He didn't. He looked good, but he didn't look wow. You know, he only has 2 wins in his last 5. If you go a few fights back, he's 3-6 in his last 9. And Joe Pyfer is 4-1 in the UFC. So I mean, this is the matchup you deserve. You're going up against a guy who should beat you. who you're going in the underdog in, and you don't deserve a bigger fight than Joe Pyfer. Um, with that being said, this is basically just like a striker versus wrestler matchup. Even though one guy he missed weight intentionally, UFC gave D-Rod extra to show. Yeah, no, he definitely missed weight intentionally. Like I think it was like it was a significant weight miss, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was like
there was a video of him actually like a cooking with Kevin Gastelum on his YouTube channel where he was eating like 15 tacos right before the fight, like the day before the fight. So he like intentionally missed weight, which is just ridiculous to see from a UFC fighter, especially from a veteran. It was nuts.
yeah, exactly. But both guys are pretty well rounded. Last time Joe fought a wrestler was Gerald Mearshart, and he got a knockout in the first 4 minutes in the first round. I don't think it's going to happen in this fight because I don't see Kelvin getting knocked out. Last time Gaslam fought a striker was his last fight, in my opinion, which is D-Rod, where he won by a sneaky decision because of his takedowns. D-Rod actually had more significant strikes landed in that fight. Joe Pyfer really should win this fight. You can't knock him out, but Pyfer trains with Sean Brady, and his grappling isn't bad at all. He actually averages, as you can see by the graphic here, he averages more takedowns per fight than Kelvin Gastelum. The question is, can he control the fight on the ground? Probably not, because Kelvin's an elite wrestler. But I got Joe Pyfer. I think he's going to be able to dominate on the feet. I think he'll be able to keep up on the ground. And yeah, that's how I got my pick. But I think there could be a sneaky upset as well, because I like Kelvin is legit, but I got Joe Pyfer. I just don't love Joe. Like I think he can just lose, but we'll see what happens. I guess I think he's got everything it takes to. I think it's his fight to lose. He's got everything to beat. He's got everything it takes to beat Kelvin Gastelum.
I understand why you said you don't love Joe Pyfer, because he did have that decision loss against Jack Hermanson, which was like a surprising loss for him, with his upcoming star power. He should have won that fight. He should have dominated that fight. But you look back at Kevin Gastelum, he actually lost to Sean Brady, who trains with Joe Pyfer, their teammates, right? He lost to him back in 2023 in the third round via sub. I think we see Joe Pyfer get a submission win here.
Leaky sub.
Feel good about it. I think that's what they're gonna set it up. I think this is like building up their team, building up Pyfer. He wants to go for a finish. It's gonna go to the ground eventually. He's gonna take his back. He's gonna get in a filthy choke, man. I could see it happening already.
I'd love for it to happen. If that happens, Gaslam's got to retire.
We might see a Gaslam retire here. We might see it, because what's next for him? Nothing's next for him. He's not going to get a ranked opponent. He's not going to make a climb back to the title. He did, after his Sean Brady loss, he was supposed to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov, but that fight was canceled. Imagine if that happened. He could have probably got choked out in that fight too. But then he has a decision win over Chris Curtis after he got choked out to Brady. Decision win over Daniel Rodriguez. So he's on a 2-fight win streak. He's got a little bit of momentum here, but it's just a horrible matchup. Joe Pyfer is the truth. He's a favorite for a reason. A lot of these favorites are going to hit on this card. Put him in a parlay. Feel good about it. And I like him to get the finish here. I don't think it's going to go to decision. I think the hype is real. I think he has the power, the strength, the cardio, everything on Kevin Gastelum. So I think he's going to make easy work of him, kind of like what Brady made of Leon Edwards, just pure domination. That's how I see this fight going.
Yeah, no, I like it. I got Joe Pyfer too. Again, it's his fight to lose, right? That's how I see it. Co-main event of the night, we got Manuel Torres fighting Drew Dober. Just like what's his name, Ronaldo Rodriguez. I saw Manuel Torres at the Sphere, UFC 306. That was a great ass fight. He was fighting Ignacio Bahamondes, who we just saw fight against Jalen Turner, and forced an early retirement for Jalen there. But back then, Manuel Torres, I believe, was actually coming in as the favorite against Ignacio Bahamondes, and most people expected him to win. He was going into that fight 3-0 in the UFC. He had a couple knockouts in there, I believe, as well. And everybody knew it was going to be a banger, and a banger it was. He ended up being the one to get the short end of the stick, and he got knocked out against Ignacio Bahamondes. but it kept his streak alive of never going to decision in the UFC. I see the exact same thing happening here. Drew Dober has been knocked out 2 times in his last 3 losses. And he got knocked out against Jean Silva and Matt Frivola. The only person who didn't knock him out was Renato Moicano. Renato Moicano is not known for knocking people out. I think he's got like 3 knockouts in his career all time. So that makes sense. That was a decision win there for him. But even though this is the biggest test for Manuel Torres, you got a 36-year-old going up against a 30-year-old. The 30-year-old's got power. He's got the hype behind him. He dominates Drew Dober in every single category besides legacy. Wow, we got another comment here. Aaron's going, I'm on Simon. You missed that, bro. You're cheering for a loser.
Bad pick, bro. Bad pick.
Bad pick, bro.
He was in my live stream last weekend giving me picks. He had some good ones. He had Nathaniel Wood. He had Holland.
I mean, to be fair, if he gave you picks last week, he was probably right on all of them because you were wrong on all of them.
It was not a good week for me last week.
No, it was not.
Charles Jourdain released the video. He's usually sharp on his picks as well, and he was 0 for 5 on his main event picks, which I was as well. So just a brutal night.
Yeah, but anyway, I got Manuel Torres. I think he's gonna knock out Drew Dober. Yeah, just career ending. The guy's 2 in his last 5, so I don't see him getting a third.
You like Torres here? That's exactly why I like Drew Dober. No, I'm just kidding. But I do actually really like Drew Dober. He trains at Elevation Top Team, I think it is, in Denver. And this fight is going to be at Elevation. And Manuel Torres doesn't train at any elevation. So he's going to look better. He's not going to be tired. It will be standing. Probably won't hit the ground unless Torres feels like he might need to mix it up, go for a submission at some point, because Drew Dober will be wanting to stand and bang. He's going to be the one walking this guy down. Although Torres has the reach advantage, I think he's going to be strictly counter-striking this whole fight. I think Drew Dober is going to be the one initiating a lot of these exchanges, while Torres is just going to kind of just wait and bounce around and wait for him, poke him, stick that jab out. I like Drew Dober here, man. I know he's a vet. He's getting older, but in his media day, he's excited for this fight. He says, I could fight when I'll be one of those fighters fighting when I'm in my 40s. He's looking forward to this fight. Whenever you get Drew Dober excited for a fight, he typically wins that fight. He's an underdog here. A lot of people are picking Manuel Torres,
backing you up.
But I like Dober, man. Dober's chin is gonna knock out Torres. Dude, yes.
That chin is elite.
Durable, strong, powerful. He's going to have this speed advantage, I believe. He's going to have the stamina advantage. If this fight goes to the second, third round, expect Dober to win here. If Manuel Torres wins this fight, I think it will be early. Yeah. But, if it gets into that second, third round, I'm just going to be sitting back, loving that I bet my money on Drew Dober.
I guess we'll see what happens. I do got Manuel Torres, though. The odds keep shifting because I think Drew Dober was actually the favorite going into this. And I think now he's the underdog. So
he's the underdog right now.
Yeah. So
a lot of hype on Manuel Torres, but if you get knocked out by Ignacio Bahamondes, Drew Dober is a step up in competition from Ignacio in my eyes. So
I don't know, man. Ignacio has proven himself to be dangerous.
I mean, Jalen
back-to-back first-round finishes.
Jalen Turner didn't want. He said,
"You're right.
If he wanted to get out of that choke, he would have fought a little harder, and he believes that he could have, but he didn't want to. Like, whatever, that performance, cut that out, doesn't count. That performance against Jalen Turner doesn't count. Ignacio Bahamondes, a lot of people like him. He does have some potential right now, but I think he's going to get fraud checked pretty soon if he gets a higher-ranked opponent, in my opinion."
I mean, yeah, I don't think he's making a title run anytime soon. And if Drew Dober beats him, he's been fraud checked. Like that's how it's gonna work. So I feel that.
Do we see a potential Drew Dober gets it done here and fights Ignacio Bahamondes next? Maybe.
I think it would make sense.
Yeah.
I think it would. Main event, Brandon Moreno versus Steve Erceg.
The dweebs.
I was a Brandon Moreno hater. Just kidding. I've always loved Brandon Moreno, but I did think he was going to lose against Amir Albazi. And I was so confident with that pick. Damn, I keep bumping my camera.
Yeah, it's
I
like
get
some
used to this
AI
shit.
thing or something going on over there.
Yeah, hey. I don't know why this shit. I
I'd
can't
have
play.
Ignacio over Dober. Yeah, I wouldn't feel good about betting Dober there, but I'd probably just ride. Probably just ride
Just
Dober. Like,
ride.
gotta just ride Dober, man. Who
All
knows?
vibes.
I believe it.
Um. So yeah, I was hating on Brandon Moreno at UFC Edmonton against Amir Albazi, and then he sent Amir Albazi to the hospital. He didn't knock him out, but he fucked him up so bad that the guy spent the night away. And then after the fight, who do I see in the elevator? Brad Moreno. Obviously, got to dab him up, be like, I had you the whole way through, but in reality, I thought Amir Albazi was going to piece him up. So just because of that, I got Brad Moreno. But to give a little bit of a better analysis here, Steve Erceg has a crazy career when you like actually look into it. He was 3-0 in the UFC, and then the cards just fell right in his lap, and they're like, "Yo, you want a title fight? You're number 8 ranked," and he's like, "Sure, I'll go fight for the title." And then he goes fights against Alexandre Pantoja, and he looked good. People argued that he should have won that fight. Even like I didn't have that. I had it. I think it was 3-2 for what's his face.
The
Why
GOAT,
am I
Pantoja.
Yeah, for Pantoja, but some people had it Erceg 3-2, so you can't blame that. So it was a good fight. And then he goes fights against Kai Kara France, and people are like, oh shit, like, okay, so this is like where he should have stepped up to next. If he gets the win here, he's as legit as we thought he was. Gets knocked out in the first round. And I don't think that he'll I don't think Moreno is necessarily going to knock him out. But Moreno is in front of his home crowd fighting against a guy who's on a 2-fight losing streak. And really, when you really think about it, doesn't really deserve to be there, you know. So I think Moreno is on a hot streak. I think that Moreno is going to get the win here. I just don't see him pulling it off just based on how Moreno looked in his last fight. Like he looked so good against Amir Albazi. Amir Albazi was doing nothing for 5 rounds.
He looked amazing. He looked absolutely flawless, dude. And he has those kind of performances. When he won the championship, he looks flawless. When he's on these 5-round fights, it's 5 rounds, you know. Steve Erceg's only had that one fight against Pantoja. That was 5 rounds, I believe. So I like Brandon Moreno too. I like both these guys' personalities. You know, one's in the Lego sets, the other guy's like a coach, and they're both kind of like some nerds who weigh 120 pounds. But it's hilarious and they're fun. They're entertaining. But I think it's smart going Brandon Moreno here, 2nd overall against 8th overall. I like how you broke it down. Steve Erceg, in the media day, he says like it doesn't even feel real. All these opportunities that he's been given, it doesn't even feel real. And I think he's just living his dream right now. He's not going to say no to fighting Brandon Moreno, number 2 in Mexico. But
yeah, because he knows if he wins, he's back in a title conversation. Right?
But he's definitely not confident in this fight. You know, there's better matchups for him against somebody who I think might be the best in the division right now after that Amir Albazi performance. Who's to say if he gets a finish here that he's not next in line for that title? You know what I'm saying? So I'd like to see that.
Yeah, he 100% is. If you think like who's the last guy to fight Pantoja? Kaya Sakura.
Yeah.
Who came from another promotion and got his ass whooped, you know, like
exactly.
And Pantoja doesn't whoop anyone.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So whoop anybody. Steve Erceg doesn't whoop anybody. That's the thing too. Like he does have a knockout win. That was like 3 fights ago. That's what got him all this hype. Was like, whoa, somebody new in the flyweight division that could actually could drop people. So they gave him all these shots, but he's not going to drop Brandon Moreno. It's just not going to happen. Also, Brandon Moreno in the media day, he said that he was asked about his past performances, how he feels about everything. Getting somebody like a Steve Erceg who's lower in competition, he says it doesn't matter at all. He wasn't even thinking about that. He just has his eyes set on this fight and winning this fight in his hometown. He forgets about the past. He doesn't care about anything that people are saying. There was a time where he was talking about retiring and taking time off, but this is not the mindset that he's in right now. I think we see another dominant performance here by Brandon Moreno. Feel confident about betting him. Another favorite on this main card that is just like free money in my eyes.
Yeah. I think the UFC is doing Steve Erceg a disservice. I think they're low on competition in the flyweight division. Everyone's kind of fought everyone, and they've all beaten each other and lost to each other. And they're just like, we don't know what matchups to make next. So I think what's going to happen, Steve Erceg loses this fight, and I think he gets dropped back down to like maybe like just like a guy outside of the top 10, still within the top 15, you'd assume. Just give him an easy matchup. You got to get him a win, and you got to kind of build him back up because he just got jumped to the top and stayed at the top for 3 fights in a row now. And if you have him lose 3 fights in a row at the top, then that's tough. But
give him somebody who's losing, not like maybe Amir Albazi or what's his face? The guy who fought Pantoja.
Kai Sakura.
Yeah, give him Kyle Sakura, give him Amir Albazi. Don't give him Brandon Moreno with all the hype in Mexico. Don't give him Pantoja in Brazil. Don't give him these crazy headlining fights that just set him up to get fucked.
Like I like the Kai Sakura matchup and the who's the other guy you said just now? Amir Albazi. I like those, but I think they're both still too strong for Steve Erceg. I just think they're like before the Moreno fight, Amir Albazi was like on a winning streak, Kai Sakura is a former champ in another promotion. He went straight to a title fight as well. I think Kai Sakura needs an easy opponent. I think Steve Erceg needs an easy opponent. And then if they both beat those easy opponents, then match them up to each other. But you got to build these guys up, I feel like, to get them to be fan favorites again so people can ride behind them again. Because right now, I feel like nobody is able to ride behind Steve Erceg because he's on a 2-fight losing streak.
Can we say this is an easy opponent for Brandon Moreno? Because I feel that way when this fight got booked. I
feel that way too. I know I shouldn't, but I really do. Like Steve Erceg has done nothing to prove that he's a tough opponent besides going 5 rounds with Pantoja.
Exactly.
And that's, again, like almost everyone does that.
It's flyweight. You don't see
you know what I mean?
Often.
Yeah. So anyway, I think it's an interesting fight. Is the week after UFC 314?
Yes, sir.
Not yet, right?
Yes, sir.
Really? No, there's got to be one more before that.
April 12th.
12th. But
no, we got Emmett versus Murphy.
It's Josh Emmett versus Lerone Murphy.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Early pick Josh Emmett.
Early pick Josh Emmett. Interesting.
Early. We'll think about that one.
We jump on next week.
Yeah, we'll see if I'm still that way next week. Early.
Maybe it's too early of a pick. But we're gonna be back next week, 3 p.m. Central Time. Our boy Torres Finney is gonna be on the main card as of right now, for that fight card in Vegas. I think it's gonna be at the Apex. And then the week after we got Miami. But every Thursday, 3 p.m. we're gonna go live. And any final notes? Cody Talks.
Yeah, go follow Cody Talks IF on Instagram. I always promote it, and I always see no followers when we get off of this. So please go follow Cody Talks IF. That's my personal page. We're going to be cutting up this podcast or this live show, putting clips onto there. Also, a lot of personal content from myself. And just excited for UFC this week. Bounce back from UFC London. There was no knockouts last week in London. I think there's going to be a lot of knockouts on this card. Mexico, these fighters always put on for the fans. It's going to be exciting. I can't wait to watch it. And I'll be live for this fight as well. I'll be live. What time do these fights start at?
I'm not sure.
6 p.m., 3. So I'll be live around, let's say 4 p.m. Saturday Central Time. So come join in at YouTube, on Instagram. We're going to be trying to go live on TikTok as well. If we can make that happen, we'll see. But come join. We love watching the fights along with you guys, betting, losing, winning, all the ups and downs. It's a roller coaster every Saturday, so come join those lives.
Hell yeah, baby. I think that's a good place to wrap it up. We'll see you guys next week.
Awesome. Peace.